Finally. Hey, all right. Hello, good evening, good Thanksgiving evening to you. How the hell is everybody? How are you doing? Are you getting your turkeys together and your pies baked? Are you going over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house? Is that what you're doing? I certainly hope so. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic evening, because I am. I just finished baking. Boy, today was a whirlwind of activity for me. I headed out to see my friends over at Gods and Monsters, Todd and Anna. Mwah. Happiest of holidays to you guys. I've come back to YouTube. Guess who's back? Back again. Delver's back. Tell a friend. But yeah, I went over to Gods and Monsters to hand deliver a cheesecake made by yours truly to those wonderful folks at Gods and Monsters, Todd and Anna. I made that for them. And then I had to dash back over here. I had to make sausage and cheese scones. If I call them sausage and cheese balls, you guys laugh. I've got balls of cheese. So I made those. Then I made a cheesecake for us. Then I cleaned all that up so my wife can do some baking. We're doing all of our baking today. She made pies this morning. And so tomorrow the oven will be cleared at the crack of dawn for the turkey. So we're looking forward to that. Now, hello, Damien. How are you? We had a little bit of a schedule conflict. So if you came over and you saw, hey, Kyle's going to be there. Why isn't Kyle there? Is Kyle coming on later? The answer, unfortunately, is no. Kyle, because of reasons, cannot be here. But they're good reasons. They're good reasons. Kyle's weightlifting gym that he runs is back in business. This is getting people coming back in, and that's a good thing. That's a positive thing. We like that thing. Hello, Damien. Good to see you over there. So be on the lookout for some schedule changes in the coming weeks for the show and whatnot, as his schedule expands and changes, and ours will modify accordingly. Because I like having Kyle on this show. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So we'll change things up a little bit, and we'll get Kyle here. Man, Facebook done blue-balled me. It said I had 5 people waiting to view, and now I got nobody watching. And I know you guys are out there. It's just Facebook being YouTube being dickish. But anyway, so as you can see, I am full of holiday spirit. And so that's all good. Now, normally this would be where Kyle and I would start talking about the state of the hobbies and so on. If Kyle is a nerd and a jock, does he kick his own butt? See, damn it, if Kyle were here, we could ask him that. If Kyle were here, we could ask him that. Dang it. I wish he were. See, like, Kyle is the alphaist of Chads. He was a recon sniper in the Australian military. He's a weightlifter guy, but he's a D&D nerd. So it doesn't make any sense. Damien says to Awig, yes, to keep training, he would kick his own butt. I can only surmise that would be the case. Happy pre-Thanksgiving to you, Vinny Nada Bartolo, over on Facebook. Thank you for your holiday wishes. So I think maybe the next time Kyle and I stream, if it's going to work for him, we may try Zoom, because I can capture a Zoom session and stream it out to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. StreamYard works the best. Discord doesn't work for him at all. Zoom might maybe work. And I hate using Zoom because Zoom is owned by the Chi-Coms and reasons. So yeah, maybe we can get something working. What I really want from Santa Claus, and I'm not going to get it, I'm just saying, I would really like to have a more robust PC over here. This one kind of does okay, but after this past Tuesday's D&D game, which was live streamed to you guys, it became evident to me that the old Optiplex there might be a good second or third tier gaming PC, but its days as a dedicated streaming PC might be numbered. Yeah, Magic User Ranger. Passerby. We say Magic User. Anyway, so yeah, it was very frustrating on Tuesday. And another thing would be like an inexpensive low-slung monitor like this one over here. But then if I'm splitting the picture over two separate monitors, that's putting more stress on the video card that I've got. So it's just kind of goes round and round and around. We'll see though. We'll see how things play out. Even just a bigger monitor, like my ViewSonic, my poor 27-inch ViewSonic monitor, that has had 3 motherboards go bad. The display is gorgeous, but now ViewSonic is like, yeah, no, we don't sell those motherboards anymore. We're not going to sell you one of those motherboards anymore. We're not going to tell you how to fix those motherboards, and we're not going to give you a new monitor. So here and now, I'm saying don't buy ViewSonic products. Just don't buy them. Had a beautiful 27-inch monitor from them, and it bit the dust. Not reliable. But I would love to have a second display over here so I wouldn't have issues like last time with minimizing the Discord window so I can see what you guys are saying, and that causing the video drop. If I could just move it over to another screen and screen grab that to stream to you guys, or not, I wouldn't even have to do that. I would just be streaming, but it would be out of the way, and I could still A, have rulebooks open, and B, have chat and stuff like that open. That would be awesome. So who knows? And I mean, while I'm making a list of things that I would like to have for Christmas, if for nobody else's sake than Kyle's, just like the entry tier, not free subscription to StreamYard. Because regardless of what solution I use, I want to use StreamYard with Kyle. If I had 2 OK PCs, one might be able to run the video chat and Ninja on one and stream out of the other one. I don't know how I could. I mean, I do have 2 OK PCs, but I'm not sure how I could do that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I could see. And I'm an IT guy, allegedly. So, but I might have a few options coming up. We'll see. One of the things is, in addition to this, and I mentioned this before, I do college football highlights on Sunday morning with a team of people who really know college football, as well as, if not better than I do. And so those guys, one of those guys is in government IT, and he has a pile of Xeon workstations, and I'm trying to get the money to send to him to have it shipped down, because while clock for clock it's a little bit slower than this PC, it is 12 cores, 24 threads, because it's a Xeon processor, which means a lot more grunt, a lot more ability to do stuff like run OBS and everything. So if I can lay my hands on that jewel, I can retire this guy to some other kind of duty, maybe sit there and chug and do encoding if I ever decide to start doing pre-recorded videos again. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how it goes. So yeah, them's the technical issues facing me right now. So coming up, schedule wise, what do we got? Uh, Now last year, my wife was kind enough to get me an absolutely amazing Star Wars Advent calendar. Those things, like, they drop in October and disappear like that. But she got me one last year, and it's the coolest thing in the world. So if you missed the opening of the Advent calendar, I'm going to put up like a shelf or something behind me, and I will slowly open each little Advent door and show you guys the super cool Star Wars minifigs and mini ships that I have, and we'll do the Christmas Advent with those. Now, I'm not, capital NOT, not going to be streaming on Christmas Day. I might do a little streaming around Christmas. I'm not sure yet. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do when it comes to Christmas. Last year, I kind of disappeared into the portable hole and pulled the lid shut over me. I was gone for, I didn't stream for like maybe 10 days or so. And while I certainly needed the vacation, I did miss you guys. I don't know if you guys missed me, but there we go. So, yeah, I was, sorry, there's a little noise distracting over there. So I'm not going to be doing that this year, but yeah, New Year's and Christmas, I'll probably take those off. Sorry, just how it's going to go. But we'll do some fun Christmassy stuff. You'll see, I'll have some lights up. I'll get my Santa hat going, and we'll do lots of fun things. Speaking of fun, I want to just, so much dust. I want to just test this out on you. So here's a trivia question. Here's a trivia question for the crowd. Oh, lots of comments from Vinny. Kyle has an extensive resume. Yes, he does. Yeah, monitors, unfortunately. It used to be like, oh, I got $49. I can go get a 19-inch widescreen monitor from the computer surplus place. Now it's like $79.99 for a 900p monitor. Take it or leave it. Well, shit. Yes, Xeons are great. Monitors are expensive. Anyway, so here's what I want to try tonight. I want to lay this on you guys a little bit. Hey, Ricky Maru. Good to see you. So, this is a no price kind of thing. Look, last year, and I've gone over this before, I had a bunch of little plastic lobsters. I asked trivia questions. I told the people who got the trivia questions right, I would mail them a plastic lobster. And I didn't, and I'm sorry. Starting in the new year, I'm going to start doing trivia. First of all, you people, you're going to get your lobsters. That's a crayfish. You're going to get your crayfish prize from me, I promise. Second of all, starting in the new year, I'm going to start trying to do at least once or twice a month, a serious run of trivia where, like, during a week I'll ask trivia questions, and then, like, we'll just filter through, and somehow or the other we'll get like a trivia panel on, if that's something you guys are interested in, and the winner will get a little, like, actual gift. I'll get like a sponsored gift. Like, I mean, you know, I'm not sure how much these are. I might be talking out of my ass. But, you know, like something like this for the trivia winner. Or, you know, a handful of minis. Or a gift certificate to Drive-Thru RPG. Or something like that. Just a little bit of engagement for you guys. Something kind of cool if you guys would like to do something like that. But, you know, don't Google yet. Don't go. Put your AD&D books down. Put them down. You too, A-Wig. Put it down. No, don't just put it on your lap. Put it down. Thank you. You know, it'll be D&D related trivia. Classic D&D related trivia. So for some of you, it might be kind of easy. For some of you, it might be really brain bustingly hard. It will get expensive. But if I only do it once or twice a month, I'm not talking about like every day there's going to be trivia and prize winners. Yeah, I'd go broke. I'd be in the poorhouse. I'd be mailing, your prize is a origami dragon folded up out of all the late notices from my car payments and house payments. No, I'm not talking about doing it like day in and day out. I'm talking about like maybe once a month, like a month end kind of thing. Like the month comes to the end and we do that. So here's a bit of trivia. Let's just see how engaged you guys are. So here's a little bit of trivia on Wednesday night for you guys. Which TSR artist did the first color cover artwork for a TSR Dungeons and Dragons box set? I'm not talking about Dungeon board game. And I'm not talking about Empire of the Petal Throne, because that's not D&D, that's EPT. I'm talking about Dungeons and Dragons in any of its many varied forms. Which TSR artist from the stable of TSR artists did the first full color art? Volcano God says, just joined and I heard something about doing something once a month. A trivia night once a month. Where, I'll figure out how to get 3 or 4 participants together and we'll do a trivia night and the winner will get a prize. So, you can answer, if you're over on Facebook, you can answer this. If you're over on YouTube, you can answer this. Which TSR artist did the first full color Dungeons and Dragons box set cover art? Name the artist. Oh, I love Caldwell's work, Damien, but it was not Clyde Caldwell. I love Mr. Caldwell's work. One of my favorite D&D artists who wasn't one of the classic 6. Vinny, do you know you're hanging out on Facebook by yourself? And this is a no prize. This is just a shout out thing. TSR artist who created the first color artwork for a Dungeons and Dragons box set. Rob Coons? No, I'm not sure. Ricky, I'm going to say no. Let's see. Oh, Vinny has said something. Unfortunately, no. Okay. I know the answer. I'm going to tell you guys in a little bit if we don't get any responses. So, first TSR artist, I'll type the question in and I will pin it. And I'm going to pin this. Oh, Paul's getting close. Errol Otis, he says, oh, that's a good one. Paul, if this was darts, you would have hit like that ring outside the bullseye. You are very close, sir. And again, this is just a no prize. This is just a little fun. This is the kind of question, and this question won't get repeated. I'm going to pin that because I can pin that. There we go. Pin comment. This is not going to be a. Let's see. Volcano God got it right. The first full color box set has to be the home set, so it's DCS. David C. Sutherland III. Circle gets the square. Volcano God. Got it. Was it that middle school girl? The one that did the pick of the girl on the altar? Okay. Now that is a good one. That because that shows Ricky was paying attention to the streams that I've done with Tracy Lesh. But no, that was the first. I don't know if that was the first full color booklet art, the cover to Eldritch Wizardry. But if I had said booklet, you would be very close. You would be very, very close. But it is David C. Sutherland. David C. Sutherland. And it is this art specifically that I'm thinking of. Let's see. Good Lord, I don't know what that is, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'll find a nice... there we go. I don't... What are you even doing to me? Let me see if I can do this here. There we go. Okay. This is the set that I'm talking about. That's the image I'm talking about there. So a question back from Volcano God is, what was the first full-color illustration by TSR period? I don't know, but guessing EPT. That may actually be Sutherland also. Let's see. That looks like it could be Dave Sutherland's art. Holy crap, that looks like my old EPT set there. It looks like a photo from my tabletop of my EPT set, actually. But it's Wayne's books. And first of all, now I know that's not my EPT set. It had distressed corners. And second of all, Wayne would not just grab a random photo like that. It may be the TSR EPT from 1975. But I do know that Deb Larson did the cover here. Let's see. Let me see if I can open this up here. Here we go. So this is pretty racy. I'm not afraid to link it though. I'm not putting it up on the screen, so yeah, that's and there we go. There goes the light. Somebody cue up the Baker Street. Somebody bring up the Jerry Rafferty for us there. But yeah, a bunch of people nowadays get their panties in a wad about Deb Larson's art. And here's a funny thing. Here's the funny thing about this. I don't want to talk much politics. I don't like to. I get dragged into it when people try and wreck my hobby shit with their stupid politics, but I am friends with Ms. or Mrs. I'm not sure, Larson on Facebook. I don't do it. I barely engage on Facebook anymore, but I maintain connections there. Her politics are 180 degrees around from mine, with a vengeance. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because I'm sure she's a wonderful person. But Facebook is an awful place, and it's an awful filter. There are woke scolds who would consider themselves politically aligned with her that look at the art that she did for Supplement 3 and would have a baby and talk about how awfully horrible this is, that it ever existed. So I just find that funny. And in that same issue, we got Tracy Lesch's Mind Flayer and Roper illustration. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's in Blackmore. Hello, Brian Easterling. Want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving also, Brian. Thank you. Thank you very much. Greetings, Chris. How are you? Man, I have 8 people watching me. This is like the old times, back when I would get 8, 10, 12 people watching me. This feels good. You guys are pushing that dopamine button. I'll try not to rant and yell too much so I don't scare anyone off. But that's the kind of trivia that I'm talking about, but like rafts of it, like 5-point questions, 10-point questions, and we do it for a half an hour or 45 minutes, and then we add it up, and the winner takes away the prize of the day or something. And maybe I'll talk to companies about doing sponsorships, like today's Delver's Dungeon Trivia is brought to you by WizKids Miniatures, and the winner gets like, you know, some nice miniatures from WizKids. I don't know. I'll have to approach these people. We will see. But thanks for stopping by over on Facebook, Brian Easterling. Vinny Nata Bartolo. Yes, Deborah Larson. So, unpin that. So we'll be doing some trivia in the new year. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. And if I can get some prizes for it, something that you guys could enjoy, that would be even cooler still. Other changes, in case you didn't hear it, Friday nights, we will be doing more gaming live streaming. We are going to be streaming first edition Gamma World. I got a couple of players. I got a couple of folks already ready to jump into Gamma World. Maybe even 3. But that still leaves 2 to 3 slots. So if you want to play a live streamed first edition Gamma World game, don't worry about knowing the rules. It's very D&D like, very AD&D like. You just hit me. Jack Photon, back from a 3-week cross-country drive. Good Lord, man. Did your car keep breaking down, or did you just stop and see the sights? Did you zigzag? I'm reminded of the Clark Griswold map when he sits down to with the Apple computer, you know, shuts the kids' Odyssey 2 off and brings up the Apple computer on the big cabinet TV and is sitting there hacking away and showing them the route. And his son grabs a joystick and starts eating the car route trail. Totally improbable, but very funny. Just the same. With a 3-week drive, I would say probably from somewhere deep inside South America. You know, if I were a younger man, if I was a much younger man, like in my early 20s, I could see myself saying, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to save up my money for a couple of months. I'm going to buy a microbus in Tierra del Fuego. Like I'll just scan the used the used car, whatever, fly down there, take a steamer, whatever, and drive up the Pacific Highway. Just shoot straight up. With the exception of Nicaragua and there's a place near Guatemala that it's not terribly big, but it is a vast and howling wilderness that of the people who've gone in there, very few have ever actually come out. For that, I might ferry around and then just drive all the way up to Anchorage and then come back down and then cut across the United States back home. But I'm not that young man anymore. I hardly think my family would enjoy that very much, whether they went or whether they stayed at home. When will Dad be back? Don't know. So what'd you do, Jack Photon, with a 3-week drive? You know, you can't go on thinking nothing's wrong. Who's going to drive you home tonight? I got viewers over on, hello to my viewers over on Facebook. I know Vinny Notabartolo is over there. Brian, are you still hanging out? Oh, and before I forget, let's see. LA through Salt Lake. Nice. I-80 to Upper New York to visit Mom in Connecticut, then straight back on the I-40. Had to skip I-95 through VA to Jacksonville, and then the I-10 through Texas and home. 750 miles a day. I can imagine 750 miles a day is brutal. It's brutal. I tell you, one year, it was around Easter, I think. My old man, when he was still going through cancer treatments, needed somebody to drive him around Orlando. At the time, not now, the engine is just about shot, but at the time, my Saturn could make about 380, 390 miles on a full tank of gas. I gassed up twice that week. And when I looked at the travel odometer just as I gassed up on my way home on the Friday, I had driven just over 550 miles. That was just inside Orange and Seminole County, Florida. Just taking my dad to different doctors, to hospital visits and stuff. I have to find the link. There was a great blog website, a guy who drove from the U.S. to South America and back. It was amazing. He even had to bribe cops in Central America. I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe that. And I think I know the blog you're talking about, Russ. 900 miles in a day. My most recent toughest driving test of endurance was 3 or 4 years ago. The kids wanted to hit Comic-Con Tampa. I did not want to have to, well, renting a room in Tampa, you either get some god-awful nightmare, Motel 666 kind of place, or you had to have rented a room months in advance and giving up your firstborn child to get it near the convention center. So we day tripped. Now, if you don't know Central Florida, the area that I live in is right near Orlando, and Tampa Bay, one way, is about 80 miles. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we day tripped. So 80 miles one way, 80 miles back, 80 miles one way, 80 miles back. So 160 times 4 trips in 4 days. There are people that live here in Orlando that commute out to Tampa and back in a single day, and they do it 5 days a week, 52 weeks or 51 weeks a year. I cannot imagine doing what Jack Photon did. That is crazy. That is crazy. Well, thanks for sticking around, both Brian and Vinny over on Facebook. I like all my viewers. I don't care what platform you're coming. I don't care if you've laid a string and a tin can to the side of my house here and are listening. Actually, yeah, that's a little creepy. Don't do that. Don't do that. I've given you guys too many clues about where I live anyway. But yeah, no, I don't. However you're tuning in, packet radio, carrier pigeon, semaphore flag, smoke signal, drum, Congo drum, blah, 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 blah. ESP. I love the fact that you stick around. as my as my active viewers on Facebook goes down to 0. Now it's back up to 1 now. But I appreciate it, guys. I really do appreciate it. And speaking of things I appreciate, before I forget, I really appreciate the sponsor of today's video, who are, of course, my friends over at Hellebarde Games. HellebardeGames.com. And you can find Hellebarde Games on DriveThruRPG. Hellebarde Games makes modules for Osric, which, that's AD&D. And for Castles and Crusades, which, if you're not familiar with Castles and Crusades, it's a very old school, like ultra lightweight D20 OpenGL type gaming system. Not very different from AD&D. If you know classic D&D, you could navigate your way around Castles and Crusades. I play tested the thing, so I say that with confidence. Shelby just stopped in to wish you a great Thanksgiving. Oh, thank you, Shelby. That's a Shelby Lesh, everybody. She's in the Monday night game. That is the lovely wife of Tracy Lesh. She's just an awesome person all by herself. I mean, you know. But thank you for stopping by. Have a great Thanksgiving, you two. And I'm great to have such a couple of great players at my table. But my friends over at Hellebarde Games are sponsoring this here live stream. And right now, if you go to DriveThruRPG and use the Dungeon Delver 01 or Dungeon Delver 1, I can't remember which. Try both. The Dungeon Delver 01 or the Dungeon Delver 1. You will receive a discount code on a copy of The Temple of the Sun, which is a module for Osric and for Castles and Crusades, written by yours truly. It's based on a tournament Greyhawk adventure, or rather convention Greyhawk adventure, that I ran way back in the dark days of 2007-ish or so. Maybe before 2005, 2004. I wrote it specifically for a convention, and it grew in the telling until it became an actual published module. I originally gave away free copies of it in PDF form for strictly first edition AD&D with Greyhawk references in it. But now you can buy a PDF copy of it all cleaned up and everything for Osric. And guess what? If you go to HellebardeGames.com directly, guess what? They have physical copies, and the physical copies are gorgeous. Look at this. Old school looking. It's got a removable cover. It's got the non-repro blue maps inside. Check them out. HellebardeGames.com. Tell them Bill Sylvie sent you, because they're awesome and they make great adventures. And Don is just a fantastic guy, just a swell guy. So we like them a lot. They're our sponsor. And of course, my continuous sponsor, the other continuous sponsor, are my buddies Jeremy and well, it's Bards of Greyhawk. You know, the thing. I'm just kidding you, Rich. Rich Lopez and Jeremy over at Bards of Greyhawk, who provide some absolutely fantastic music, which I swear to God, I promise I'm going to... Every day something gets thrown down in my way to stop me from finishing up the credits, outro, whatever kind of sequence to play for you guys. But it's coming, I promise. And Summer Mountains, which I know I played the music Summer Mountains for you guys before, so that's gonna be the backing track for that. So it'll be awesome. So, Brian says, I don't really hit YouTube, but happen to be on Facebook, getting caught up on all my friends' unfortunate political rants. Yeah. Vinny says, I used to drive to the north side of Atlanta. Oh, God, you said it all there, brother. In Alpharetta, my worst drive was 3 hours to get to work. Yikes. Yikes. I mentioned this before. I used to commute from here to Kennedy Space Center for a brief period in 2003. And that was hands down the best job I've ever had. If I still had that job, I would still drive the route. I would do it unwaveringly because I loved working for the space program. I absolutely. Let me tell you what. I will listen to your shitty political opinions and smile and nod and then turn and walk away and not say anything. You want to talk about how, fluoride is putting 5G viruses in the water system and everything. And I'll just say, all right. You ever seen a show called The X-Files or Fringe? No? All right, just ask him. But I get legitimately pissed off when people bring up moon landing. It's like, oh, we didn't go to the moon. It's all lies. They're astronauts. Did you ever wonder why Neil Armstrong said he was depressed? Because he was living a lie. No, you shithead. He was depressed because at 25 he had done more than any human ever will be able to do. And it was just kind of downhill from there. Anyway, I love working for the space program, and it was awesome. Which do I prefer, ballistae or trebuchets? The idea of shooting directly through a fully armored knight with such violence that it removes him from his horse, or if the angle is obtuse enough, it kills him and his horse, if he is mounted, and if he's not, takes out him and maybe a page behind him, is really awesome. Just the mental imagery is great. However, because, a stone, it's like, oh, here comes a rock. Step. Thud. However, let me make a case for the trebuchet. Feel free to ignore this if you don't want to reply, but may I ask what your job was at KSC? Arrow grab, I will answer your question in just a minute because I want to hit Damien up here. Let us sing the praise of the trebuchet for one specific reason. A-Wig, Cannonwood Grape Shop. I have to appreciate a man who embraces high tech. Okay, so there is a book by Poul Anderson called The High Crusade. And basically a bunch of aliens land their warship in 9th century England and think, haha, these are stupid primitives, and we're going to wipe them out. We're going to make this backwards ass planet ours, and we're going to start right here. They don't realize that humans can contextualize things very easily. And once they realize that this is not magic, this is not God or angels or demons, these are just men with a strange flying castle. Therefore, like all castles, it can be invaded and overcome. They do so. They seize control of the ship. They realize that the engineers aren't warriors, and the engineers will bargain with their lives. So the engineers let them fly it off into space. They go back to the home planet, land on it, and lay siege to the aliens' capital city. How? They hurl nuclear artillery shells with trebuchets because they're not propelled with rockets or with an explosive charge. They have no signature. All the enemy knows is nuclear warheads, tactical nuclear warheads, proceed to rain on them. Somehow the humans have invented a stealth nuclear warhead delivery system, and it's trebuchets. Now, these are science fiction nukes. So the 1 or 2,000 yard range that a really big siege engine can max out at is far enough away that it doesn't kill the crews. So that's, I gotta, the science fiction coolness of using trebuchets to launch tactical nuclear weapons in a way that the enemy can't detect the tactical nuclear weapons edges out the real world practicalness of the Scorpion or the ballista or ballistae. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Arrowgrab says, what was my job at KSC? I ask as I love space stuff. Okay, so I'm an IT nerd. And so way back in the 1970s, let's take a step back even further. Outside of mission control, you've all seen Apollo 13 and various space movies where they've got the banks of black and white or green and black monitors and keyboards fixed in them. That was there. The engineers' desks, and I remember, I think it was very well put by, I think it was Gene Cernan who said, the state-of-the-art desk workstation at NASA was a rotary dial phone, a Rolodex, and a steel desk with 2 hefty filing cabinets that hopefully had all the information that you might need. That was a state-of-the-art workstation. A blotter, a holder with some pens and pencils and a slide rule. And then, of course, you went in and you had the ultra high-tech screens and displays and everything that we see when we think of mission control. So in the 1970s, maybe even a little bit before then, NASA introduced the concept of office automation, when you would be connected via a network line, which was a coaxial cable, to an IBM System 360 mainframe. And you could call up jobs. You could use job control language, JCL, to call up jobs, to bring up data, to order printouts. Because you didn't have a printer at your table. You didn't even have a printer in your area. You would simply send a job, and then at some point during the day, maybe even the next day, depending on the priority, someone would come by and dump off a ream of tractor-fed green bar paper with your data printed out on it. So that was the state-of-the-art office automation until PCs began to roll in the mid to late 1980s. The Boeing Corporation originally put office automation in KSC. And they maintained it for decade after decade after decade. I worked with some of the people who ran the coaxial cables. Now, let me make this 100% clear. If you found an RJ45 connection on the wall and you cut the drywall away, you would create a severe health hazard. The drywall inside the buildings at KSC, the older buildings, is impregnated with asbestos. If you hit a wall with a push cart, you basically have to sound a yellow alert. And they will show up. People will show up. Because I saw this the first day that I was there. There was a clear bandage, as it were, on a wall, and it had in like 6 languages to not touch where that was because of an asbestos risk. We've, again, going back to, we've all seen stuff in movies, everybody smoking the ONC building, and to tell you a little bit about the ONC building. So imagine you watch a movie, you watch actual footage, and here's a little door in the side of this giant building. It's so big it doesn't show up, where the astronauts come out, they smile and wave, and they get in the van, and the van then drives them off to the launch pad. That little door is where I would go into and out of the ONC building. And the ONC building is the oldest building out there. It was the first building, operations and control, was the first building that they built out at NASA. So yeah, the plaster and the drywall out there has asbestos in it. Or rather it can have. Anyway, I got off track. If you pulled an RJ-45 plate out of the wall, you'd find about that much probably back then Cat 3, Cat 4 cable, and then a little twisted pair to coax media converter, because all of the network cable in that building that was put in the mid-early 1970s, all of that network cable is coaxial. And I knew all the guys who came in and laid that cable because they still worked there in the 2000s. They had guaranteed jobs with Boeing. Oh, Brian saying over on YouTube. Brian, I see what you say, and I'll come back to you, okay? So Boeing just had this contract year in and year out. Even in the 1970s, after, when Nixon said, okay, we're going to the space shuttle and we're canceling Apollo was literally supposed to last into the 1980s. We were supposed to keep going to the moon. We were supposed to do a Venus flyby and a Mars landing with Apollo. Well, Nixon said, look, it's guns or butter. You can't have the shuttle. The shuttle was going to be ready in time to boost Skylab up out of the way so it wouldn't crash. The late 1960s until Challenger, until the shuttle program started, is really one kind of writ in disappointment for NASA. But the guys at Boeing, when Boeing would say there's no NASA work, they just say, you want to go work on refurbing B-52s or 747s or something off in Seattle or Kansas City? Sure. And they go work there for 2 or 3, 4 years. Well, fast forward to 2003. Our government has begun to dump $1 bajillion into the global war on terror. Our economy collapsed due to 9/11. And things are bad. NASA has always been everyone's favorite, let's cut the guts out of this program. I think NASA's budget in 2003 was $50 billion, which is not a lot of money in governmental terms. It's not. If you're wondering why a couple of dicks are currently running our space program, Elon Musk and Bezos, it's because the government won't spend money on NASA. But, Chris says, I lost the internet connection. Boring into your soul. Now I'm just boring. But anyway, so NASA was looking for a place to cut corners. So the IT department at NASA, which is thousands of people just supporting desktop, which is run by Boeing, Boeing's like, well, we got to make ourselves cheaper to NASA, so we're going to spin you guys off into your own company. Oh, and by the way, Rocketdyne is putting in a competition bid. There had never been a competitive bid. There had never been another company. that had done, it was a no-compete bid that Boeing had at NASA. No company had ever bid against Boeing for the IT stuff. Here comes Rocket 9. At least I think it was Rocket 9. So people who had been at NASA since their very early 20s, they had been at NASA. Well, drinking ages were different back then, but we'll just say for convenience sake, had been working for NASA since before they could legally drink, and were planning on being there for 10 or 15 more years so they could retire with these gargantuan fat government checks for retirement, and rightly so. Suddenly, their company was competing for their job. And moreover, the new company that they were spun off into was making these 20 and 30 and 35-year veterans apply for their jobs. They brought the Bobs in to fire some people. And yeah, so it was utter chaos. Well, Boeing still had enough of their hands, enough of their fingers in the pie that they needed warm bodies to come in, because now all of a sudden they had computers that had been in place for years and years and years and years that needed attention. They either needed to be broken down for components to be auctioned off. You ever heard about government auctions at NASA? Well, that was one of them. I came this close to coming home with a Silicon Graphics machine. Guys, they almost let me bring one home. I have a hard drive that came out of an Alpha workstation. They let me bring it home as long as I deband it and everything like that. It's a 2 gigabyte Seagate 50-pin SCSI hard drive. Sounds like a damn jet engine, 9,600 RPM. I don't use it for anything. It's just a souvenir from working at NASA. But so my job day to day was going in and taking 20 computers and making 10 decent computers out of them, stripping RAM out, picking which processor would go in, and then installing Windows 2000, because this was 2002. This was 2003. This was like fall of 2003, and the government had not yet accepted Windows XP as a workstation OS. So they hadn't even accepted Service Pack 3 for Windows 2000. I had to be very careful about installing service packs. So for about 4 months or so at NASA, my job every day was going in, and now they had no place to put me. I had an administrator's corner office, one of my offices. I had many offices at NASA that I went to and worked in. But I had an administrator's corner office just because they needed a big room to put a lot of computers in. And they needed enough desk space for somebody to work on computers in there. I basically had the almost said Tony Stark, what's his name? Larry Hagman from I Dream of Jeannie. I had his office, and I looked out, I could see the VAB and pad 39A from my corner office window that I had for a few months. Now there were piles of computers in there. It was not like, put my feet up, light a cigar. I've got all these mission patches and stuff on the wall behind me. No, it was literally just, we need a room to put this kid in. So, 32 at the time. So just stick him over here. Some days I went over to the ONC building, and I would spend 2-3 weeks at a time working in what had been a cubicle farm, but all the cubicles were blown out except for a few to have desks set up, and I would go and I would work on those. I had a couple, I don't know who they were. They were NASA administrators. And I found out later that they thought I was like a riot. They literally thought that my full-time job was being a comic, because they came over they were looking for systems furniture, and in the back of this cavernous area in the ONC building, shrink wrapped were these pallets of system furniture that they were going to deploy. And they came in and they said, "Oh, hey, they got you working in the dark in here." And it was bright enough, it was bright enough. And I said, "Yeah, I'm just working on PCs and just, I don't even remember how it started, but I basically, because nobody was responsible for me. Once I got my temporary Boeing badge and got someone with a Boeing badge, a permanent employee Boeing badge, to sign my time card showing that I'd been there, nobody gave a shit what I did. Nobody gave a shit what I did at NASA. So I didn't know these people from Adam. They didn't know me. I don't know why. I don't know how. They came over and they're looking at the system furniture and they're talking to me. And I just adopt this good old boy 1960s Southern, honest as the sunrise, used car salesman, but about systems furniture. Like, come on down to Bill's used systems furniture lot. We have chairs and desks galore. If you'll look here, we have the most comfortable offerings that you could ever find to put yourself in. Look at our desks. These particular models are wrapped carefully so that shipment to your... And they're just... I don't know why. I was just being silly. Maybe I was a little punchy from the fact that I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning to work on time. But they were dying. And I heard it through the grapevine. They thought that like I was like some stand-up comic who just did this shit, like IT stuff for a day gig. They were like, "Oh, that guy was great. I hope it. Oh, does he work in one of the clubs up here on, in Titusville or something?" Well, But I have to say, so that's basically, that was kind of a computer scrapper guy who many times didn't see the sun. I'll tell you two interesting things about NASA more, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. One, when you're on NASA, now I don't know if you've ever gotten to come to Florida and go on a tour of NASA. For the little thin sliver of land between essentially nowhere, Florida, and the Atlantic Ocean, it is a massive... Yes, Tex and Edna's. Yes, that's exactly what I was channeling. That's exactly what it is. Tex and Edna's. Jack Photon knows what time it is. It is a massive base. There are places out there that NASA, that literally, I'm not kidding you, NASA has forgotten. You'll see stuff pop up like NASA finds such and such computers from such and such mission, switches them on. They still work, and now they can communicate with like one of the Pioneer probes that's kicking around the inner solar system. All right. They're like my boxes of RPG stuff over here. Like, fuck, I don't know what's in there. I remember a few years ago, they found, this was years after I left NASA, and I was like, holy shit, I was looking at that. If you go out to near where Pad 1 is, which is where they lost Apollo, there are blockhouses. You have to go down steps, and then there's a jungly area, but you see blockhouses. If you go on a tour and you'd like, I'm going to sneak away because Bill said there's cool stuff over here. For fuck's sake, don't go over there. They're full of rattlesnakes. Like I could see rattlesnakes when we walked in that area. They found CIA spacesuits that had been specifically built for the CIA when the Air Force was like this close to building the X-20 dinosaur into a working thing. You go Google that. DYNASOAR. It was a space plane. It was like a one-man fighter jet sized space plane. It had a little cargo bay in it. But then they figured out that spy satellites were cheaper and more effective. But they had like crates and boxes full of specialized mission suits, flight suits, space suits, call them what you will, for CIA astronauts. And they put them in one of those blockhouses for storage. And then, like in 2005, they found them again. They're like, holy shit, what are these? Oh, yeah. So if you go out to KSC, like when it's lunchtime or whatever, when you're just free roaming around the visitor center, you don't say, well, you know what? Let's go to McDonald's and then we'll come back, because you're nowhere near a convenience store, a fast food restaurant, anything like that. So I'm going to NASA to work. I didn't bring my lunch. I guess I'll just go find a McDonald's or Burger King or Subway. No, you won't. Not unless you're going to drive 5 miles to get off base, and then another 20 miles in some other direction to get to a decent place to eat. So with that said, the food in the commissary in the SSPF, the Space Station Processing Facility, which is the building next door to the ONC. I put it in the air quotes because it's like a half mile from it. The buildings are side by side. If you look up ONC and SSPF and look at it on Google Maps, like, oh, they're not that far from each other. Yes, they are. They have a shuttle that, not the shuttle, they have a shuttle bus that runs between the two. Because if it's raining and you have business to conduct in one of the opposite buildings, you're not walking. You're not walking that distance. So the restaurants in both of those places are really quite excellent. And they'd have to be if you're stuck there. Their pizza was so good. So good. I eat that twice a week. I always thought about getting like a whole one and bringing it home. But one, that would have been prohibitively expensive. And two, it would have been stone cold and nasty by the time I got it home. But that's the fun one. The bittersweet one. One day, old Bill Sylvie, the Dungeon Delver, is all by his lonesome. The Boeing people have blown off to go wherever. I still had maybe an hour to go, and I'm just sitting there kicking my feet, watching, 10 gigabyte hard drives do their Windows XP install. This is in my I Dream of Jeannie corner office. Or was it? No, I was in the cube. I was in the hateful cube, where there was like enough space for me, a computer monitor directly in front of me, and then over here was a giant pile of PC towers. And over here was a giant pile of PC monitors. It was the punishment cube. But I'm just sitting there, and I hear the door. I'm facing this way. The cube exit is behind me, and then over here's the door. I hear the door open, and I kind of glance up. And this very nice lady says, Is this where the Boeing PC support folks are? And I'm like, yeah, this it's just me right now. I think they all went home. And she said, we're over here in a concert. I know I'm supposed to fill out. We're having a problem with our printer. Can you come and help us with the printer? And I was like, sure. Now, look, I've done government contracting before, and I've done IT support before. Hello, Rich Denver. We're just talking about you. Well, not just talking about you, but we were talking about you. But greetings to you anyway. Greetings. Glory to you. Glory to your turkey. So she asked me very politely, can I come and help them with the printer? And she says, it was printing fine, and now it's printing like half size in the middle of the page. I'm like, no problem. So I go over and I follow her down, and we're making like, she's like, I don't know if I should call this in. Again, the procedure is, again, I've worked government and I had worked at NASA long enough. Open a ticket, call the help center, somebody will be along. Look, there's just times when you just want your shit fixed, right? And I was just glad to be out there day in and day out. And I knew she wasn't going to turn around and say, this guy helped me without a ticket. Or maybe she would have. I don't know. But I go in. There's a group of folks in orange flight suits watching a videotape. And they've paused it, and they all stop and turn around and look. And I go over, and I fiddle with the settings on their Windows 95 PC and get their little HP 450C bubble jet to print out properly. And she said, thanks so much. I was like, oh, no problem, no problem. And the fellow nearest me, like, shakes my hand, the flight suit. He's like, thank you very much. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. And we're walking out. I was like, is that a flight crew? And she said, now, I was hoping I could just plow through this. She said, yeah, that's the Columbia crew. They're flying in December. And I got to meet him. The man who shook my hand was Ilian Ramon, the Israeli fighter pilot turned astronaut. And I was walking that far off the floor for I think my car had hyperdrive. I just floated home. I didn't even feel it. And I remember calling my friend Becca Lukomsky up, and I said, that's why I have the coolest job in the world. I work for NASA. So that's my NASA stories. And that's all my NASA stories. And unfortunately, the job ended that October. And I remember waking up that awful morning in January. The early 2000s really sucked. The only good thing to come out of those was the birth of my daughter, my first daughter. There were other good things too. The girl who basically was the receptionist in the gargantuan area, the furniture lot and the computer lot where I worked, she had an admin job over there. Like her dad was a NASA employee and got her a job, a summer intern job as an admin, and that she worked over there. But she was a huge Harry Potter fan. She loved Harry Potter, and I knew she dug fantasy stuff. And one week I had reached out to Gary and said, hey, will you can I interview you over the phone? And he said, oh yeah, sure, absolutely. And so and I recorded, which I played the recording for you guys, and I told I told her, I said, I'm going to interview the guy that invented Dungeons and Dragons this weekend. Do you have any questions? And she said, yeah, I want to know what his favorite fantasy book or movie is. And I said, sure. So I asked him for her. And Gary's favorite fantasy movie was Harry Potter. He told me his favorite fantasy movie. Second favorite was Lord of the Rings, but she was beaming when I got back and I told her that he loved Harry Potter, that it was his favorite. I can't remember if her question was, what did he think of Harry Potter? And he said it was his favorite. I think that was, I'll have to go back and listen to the recording, which I hate doing because I don't like the sound of my voice. Yeah, I think it was, what did you think of Harry Potter? And he said it was favorite fantasy movie. And then I asked him, well, what's your second favorite? He said, I knew that was coming. And he said it was The Lord of the Rings. He wasn't a fan of Howard Shore's music, but liked the visuals. He said the Christmas music that seemed to play every time the elves were on screen. But she was so happy. She probably didn't know Dungeons and Dragons from a hole in the ground. But she knew Harry Potter, and she liked Harry Potter a lot. She had actually got to be in one of the shuttles when it was being processed. She shared a picture with me She's in the full getup, the hospital getup that they made people go in, because they basically had to tear the shuttles down to the airframes and rebuild them before they flew every time, which is one reason why they were a massive waste of money and resources. In the quantity that we used them, they should have basically been almost disposable. Like, not quite as much as the Mercury and Gemini and Apollo Soyuz capsules, but very nearly so. Like, we would cycle through them so quickly, and we'd have a fleet of like 20 with like 5 building every year, etc. But that's another story. So that's me at NASA. That's what I did at NASA Arrowhead, and Arrowgrab, and I hope that answers your question. Now, I did, Brian Easterling over on Facebook says, I'd be happy to assist you with a channel intro. Brian, I've got a bunch of B-roll together, and I have a friend who's gonna put it together as soon as I get it to him. If his schedule doesn't work out, I will reach out to you. I promise I will reach out to you. It's me. I've been sitting on it forever. So, I think we've just about come to the end of it, guys. I've run out of cool and interesting things to say this Thanksgiving Eve. I need to see if the missus needs some help with the turkey or anything else. All of you have an absolutely exceptional and wonderful and extraordinary Thanksgiving. I love you all. Thank you for being here. That's really what I have. Happy Thanksgiving. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, if you're someplace in the world, I know Thanksgiving is not any particular reason for the holiday, just the idea of a day of thanks that's on November 25th has kind of expanded out somewhat across the world. So perhaps you might not be in the United States or even in Canada. You guys got yours back October 1st, I think, if you're up in Canada. Canada, yes. Yeah, Jack, I feel the same way. So, regardless of that, whether you celebrate Thanksgiving in the United States or abroad, if you're traveling, please be safe. Please be safe. Be late getting home Sunday night or Monday morning, or be a little late to the turkey carving. Look, you won't have to wait in line behind NN now, okay? Just take care of yourselves. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I love you all. I will see you probably not Friday. Although I may do, you know what, maybe we'll just have kind of a casual Friday. Let's plan for maybe a casual Friday evening, and I'll tell you guys how the Monday game went. I'll regale you with that story, and I won't get weepy on you, okay? All right, guys. Have a lovely evening. Again, I love you all. You guys make this so much fun. And we'll be back. She flung dung. Hola to you too. You caught us on the way out. As FD. So you guys have a wonderful one, and I will see you all on Friday. But you can rewatch it. SFD. You can rewatch it. So peace to you all. Take care. God bless you all. Thanks. Happy